wet fly today. This is called the Dark Spinner. I don't have any experience in fishing this fly. I chose to tie it just because I thought it was a handsome looking fly. The purple and claret colors of this, along with the dark gray, just thought it was a very interesting looking fly. I'll be trying this out on some trout streams up in Michigan this summer, so we'll see how it does. That's the Dark Spinner. I'll go ahead and get started. Start the Dark Spinner by placing my hook in the vise. This is a Mustad 3399 in a size 6. Go ahead and debarb the hook. Then I'll attach my thread. Now the body on this calls for a claret. I don't have an actual claret, so I'm going to be using a wine-colored 4-strand Danville Rayon floss. And even though it's a dark color, I'm going to go ahead and start with a white thread. That's going to help keep the colors a little bit more true while this is swimming in the water. I'll attach my thread about an eye length behind the eye of the hook, and I'm going to run it down all the way to just about the barb. Dark Spinner does not have a tip or a tag, as it's sometimes referred to, but it does have a tail. Tail is just purple hackle fibers. I'm just going to be using, this is just a Chinese neck, some purple hackle fibers. All I'm going to do is just take probably maybe about a dozen, 15, something like that. Just peel those off, keeping those tips fairly even. Get those all together. Measure those about a shank length and tie those in. There's not a whole lot here to the tail. Advance my thread down a little bit more, ending up just at the barb of the hook. If these are a little bit long, you can go ahead and trim those off so that they're the length of the body. There is a rib, and for the rib on the Dark Spinner, it's a purple floss. The Rayon purple floss is a little shinier than I care for, and for this fly, it's also a little darker. So I'm actually going to use a SemperFli purple floss for this. I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the hook shank, keeping that on the underside of the hook. The length of the body. And then I'll put the floss body on. Again, this is a wine color that I have. It's close to it. I think a claret is actually a little bit lighter than this. This is kind of a darker red. Pull that back so it's the length of the body, and then I can advance my thread forward in touching turns to collect all that down to the shank, keeping a nice smooth underbody. Go ahead and apply the body floss and then the rib. apply the rib, I don't want to just wrap that in because it'll lay too flat. So I'm going to put a counter in looking at the hook from my direction right here. I'm going to put a clockwise twist in it. The reason I'm going to do a clockwise twist is that as I'm wrapping it, it will actually keep that twist in there a lot more. If I did a counterclockwise, it would be untwisting a good portion of it as I'm wrapping this in. On each turn, when it comes around, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more twist in there. I want this to stay a nice corded look to it. Gotta watch out for that. Sometimes these pieces are a little bit short, and they slip right out of your fingers. Securing all that in, I'm now going to change over to my black thread. I'm using a Danville 6/0 in black. The white is also a Danville 6/0. The hackle that I'm going to use is also a purple. This is just a purple Schlappen that I'm going to use. It is tied in as a throat, so I will get the fluff off of that feather and then peel a little bit on from each side, getting the tips nice and even here. I'll peel off a little bit from each side, placing those together, and that will give me a nice little slip of Schlappen hackle for my throat. I'm going to secure the butts to the Schlappen and smooth the headspace off for my wing. The wing is just a dark slate colored, so I'm going to use some regular old mallard flight feathers. These are just natural. They're going to be a lighter gray down towards the bottom, so using the barbs that are about midway up the feather towards the tip is going to give you a nice darker slate gray. The two slips that I've cut out here are about ready to go, but I think you can see that I've got one's just a little wider than the other. When I get the one edge here evened up, you can see that the one on my side here is just a little bit wider. So I take my bodkin, come in, cull out a couple of barbs to even both of those up, and now my wing is the same. Each slip is the same width. Measure that so the tip is about halfway down the tail. Pinch wrap gets that in. This one came over on my side just a little more than I cared for. Thought I felt that slip as I actually was putting it up there. So I'll unwrap. Get these all aligned again. And we'll try it again. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Still came down on my side just a little bit. But I think that will do. Trim away the excess. I'll brace both of those a little bit to wrap all the way down back at the end of the head space and then bring my thread forward. Shape the head while you are securing the butt ends of the duck quill. Spin my bobbin counterclockwise to get the twist out of it. I'll flatten this out. It'll just help smooth off that head just a little bit while I do the whip finish. Trim away my thread. Head cement on both sides of the head. Give that a second to soak down in there, and then I'll put 2 coats of black lacquer on it. And our dark spinner is done. As I mentioned before, I don't have any experience fishing this fly, but I just really like the color. I find some of these flies that use floss for the rib kind of interesting. It gives it a little bit more depth maybe to it than just a flat tinsel, which gives it, a nice color and flash. That's why I chose to do the dark spinner. I'll have to swing that this summer and see how it does. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned at least a new pattern, if not a new technique, maybe a tip or trick here and there. If you have any questions about this fly or any of the techniques used in constructing this pattern, please leave them in the comments section down below. If you go to the trouble to ask a question, I'll go to the trouble to answer it. If you'd like to help dressed irons, please share this video with your friends and anybody you think that might enjoy this pattern. Until next time, remember, it's fly tying. If you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.